live. We're live, so we can start the meeting. Thank you everybody for attending full council meeting. This virtual meeting of the council on Tuesday the 13th of April 2021. Before we start usual proceedings, I'm sure you will all be extremely saddened to learn of the death of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. And I think it's pertinent at the beginning of the meeting that we all now observe a minute's silence. Thank you. Starting now. Right, thank you everybody. I'd now like to ask group leaders if they would like to make any comments. Councillor Bradley and Councillor Walker. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and on behalf of obviously Chorley Council and the Labour Group in particular, which I'm the leader, I would like to obviously pass on my condolences to the royal family and state obviously the sadness that's affected the nation over the last few days and in the run up to next weekend's funeral. I think what you also have to do though is recognise that somebody who's passed away at the age of 99 has lived a full life, and I think the Duke of Edinburgh certainly did that, and therefore I think there's also an amount of celebration to be done around that life because you know, whether you're a Republican or Royalist, and I'm sure there's many different themes across this council as to what people's views on the royal family are, what you can't you know, ignore is 70 years of public service as Prince Philip has done. And I think over the last few days watching the very extensive coverage on television, you realise how many people have come into contact with the Queen and by extension the Duke of Edinburgh, and how many different lives he's touched. And I think one of the keys for me over the last few days has been the stories that everybody has of when I met or when I saw Prince Philip. So I have my own when I saw and met Prince Philip, which was in the Jubilee year a few years ago, with Councillor Molyneux, who was then the mayor, and of course as a consort who we suspected might end up in the royal car at one point, disappearing off with Prince Philip. He came to Accrington, that centre of Lancashire as it was then, with the great and good of Lancashire there, but also a very diverse cross-section of Accrington and Lancashire folk, and was obviously very at home in that kind of environment, Mr. Mayor. And the fact that he spoke to a lot of people, engaged with a lot of people, and I'm sure everybody there, like myself and June and others, will have took away our own image and story of Prince Philip and the Duke of Edinburgh. And I think the fact that he could do that is testimony to the man and testimony to that service that he's done for this country and how many different things he's been to that many different people over that period. June's abiding memory will be that he was wearing a fleshermac, apparently, alongside his bowler hat and his regalia that he wore. My own view was that it was a very well organised event and it was like nothing else I'd ever been to at that point in my life, and therefore it was quite special. And I think that's the memory that the nation will take. So, as I said, on behalf of certainly the Labour Group and the wider council, we pay our respects, and it's fully fitting to a life of public service. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Walker, would you like to add some words?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was great sadness that we heard of the death of the Duke of Edinburgh last Friday. The Duke has given great support to the Queen, both of as husband and consort. The Duke served with distinction in the Royal Navy in the Second World War and throughout the 8 decades during peacetime. He has been a great ambassador, carrying out thousands of engagements and overseas visits on behalf of our country. One of his greatest achievements that he will be remembered for was the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme, which helped millions of young people around the world to achieve their full potential in their chosen field. He had a full life devoted to duty, and will be surely missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walker. I will now move on, if I may, to the agenda proper, starting with the House rules. For those who do not know me, my name is Councillor Steve Holgate and I am the Mayor. Next to me is Councillor Julia Berry and she is the Deputy Mayor. Please note this is a Teams meeting. It is being recorded and the video stream will also be uploaded to YouTube after the meeting. For each item, I will invite members to use the raise hand function on your iPad to make any comments to ensure each member has the opportunity to speak and that they are not speaking over each other. When speaking, please reference the paragraph number to enable everyone to follow you. Please mute your microphone and video feed when you are not speaking. If the technology fails, then I will adjourn the meeting for a few minutes to try and resolve the issue, or if that is not possible, a new date and time will be organised. Please can I ask all members to confirm that they can hear and speak before the meeting begins. I will call out each member's name in turn. Councillor Julia Berry.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Martin Boardman.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Alistair Bradley.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Terry Brown. Councillor Terry Brown. I'll come back to that. Councillor Valerie Corns.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Mark Clifford.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Jean Cronshaw. Councillor Jean Cronshaw, I know you're there. Speak. Okay, we'll come back to Jean. Councillor John Dalton.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Graham Dunn.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Christopher Franz.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Gordon Franz.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Margaret Franz.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Peter Gabbett.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Tony G.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Danny G.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. Councillor Tommy Gray.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Yvonne Hargreaves.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Alex Hilton.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Keith Eden.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hasina Khan.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Zara Khan.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Margaret Lees.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Roy Lees.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Laura Lennox.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sheila Long.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Adrian Lowe.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. Councillor Marion Lowe.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Marion. Councillor Jean Molyneux.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Councillor Molyneux. Good evening, June even. Councillor Alistair Morewood.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Steve Murphy.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Beverly Murray.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Deborah Platt.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Gillian Sharples.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. Councillor Paul Sloan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. Councillor Kim Snape.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor John Walker.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Paul Walmsley.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Neville Witham. Neville. Councillor Alan Whittaker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Peter Wilson.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Right, I shall go back to the three names that haven't responded yet. Councillor Terry Brown, are you there?
He's not on the call, Mr. Mayor.
He's not on the call. Okay, Councillor Jean Cronshaw.
Councillor Cronshaw, try hitting *6.
Present, Mr. Mayor.
Who was that?
Present, Mr.
Neville. Ah, thank you, Neville. Right, Jean,
Mayor.
*6 is the advice. Okay, we'll work on that. We're correct, so we will continue. Apologies have been received by Councillor Matt Lynch and Councillor Joyce Snape, so those are duly noted.
Mr. Mayor, may I add my attendance to that, please? Aaron Beaver.
Oh yes, sorry, Aaron.
I was feeling ever so left
I
out.
apologise for that. Nothing personal, sir. Nothing personal. I said I make a mistake at every single meeting, and sometimes on purpose. That was it. That was it. Right. So it'll all go smoothly from now on. Right. Minutes of the meeting, Tuesday, the 23rd of February 2021. They're on your agenda papers, pages 5 to 14. This item is for decision, and they are issued to raise. Are there any issues to raise regarding the accuracy? In which case, I will ask Councillor Bradley to propose them and Councillor Wilson to second them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I propose that those records of that meeting on the 23rd of February taken as a true and correct record? Thank you.
Okay.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I will now ask again, is there anybody wishing to raise any issues on that item? If not, I will take it that they are agreed as a correct record. Is there anyone against? If so, show now. No, there are none. So that is a correct record and agreed as such. Item 2 is the declarations of any interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interests in respect of matters containing in the agenda. As this is a virtual meeting, if a member has a pecuniary interest, they are requested to leave the call completely rather than just mute their microphone. The member can rejoin the call following the completion of the item in question. So are there any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests to be declared? No, I'm getting a shake of the head. So we move on to item 3, which is mayoral announcements. I have a couple of mayoral announcements. First of all, I've been asked by Councillor Khan and Councillor Sarah Khan and Hasina Khan to remind everybody that it is that time of year where they do a sponsored fast, and it has started already. Ordinarily that would go to the Mayor's charity, but the Mayor's charity is at the moment defunct until such time as it is refunct. So on that basis, I'm sure it will go to a good cause, but you will need to speak to Hasina or Zara in order to make a contribution. Secondly, I've been invited to Blackburn Cathedral on Sunday on behalf of the Borough of Chorley and the council, and I intend to attend that service in memory of His Royal Highness on your behalves. This is the last council meeting of this municipal year, and there are a number of councillors standing down. Now is the time to make comments from group leaders, Councillor Bradley and Councillor Walker. Councillor Bradley, start with yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just before I do go into those comments, I'd just like to say that we are endeavouring, or the new administration may will endeavour to hold an extra meeting to when we're all properly unlocked to pay proper, if you like, proper respects to those councillors who are standing down. to inaugurate a new mayoral year, etc. So I think we'll have more chance to do this, what I would say, properly in person, because it's very hard to do this kind of thing on a Teams call or a Zoom call or what have you. So if you'll just bear with us. I do think it is important, though, that we recognise that at the moment 12 councillors are intending to stand down. More may stand down with the electorate helping them, because some are standing for re-election, including myself. So we may all be standing down. But of those 12 councillors who have said they are not re-standing for election, 10 are from my own party. We have one independent and one from the Conservatives. But between them, there is 210 years of service to this council, which, when we just reflect on the Duke of Edinburgh just before, I think is between 12 people to rack up 210 years is a massive effort in terms of the time that they have devoted to this borough, between them and individually. Obviously, the top ranking goes to Tony G, as always, for everything. 45 years before the mast, man and boy, and ever present, certainly through my political career and probably through most of our political careers. And Tony will be sorely missed, if only for putting people like me and usually his own brother in their place on a regular basis. And I know Tony's, probably thought about, standing down for a number of years now, and always thought, I'll give it one more go. And it's testament to the man that's what he's done time and again. And he's served in nearly every role going, and is a well-known character around the town as a result. Another almost ever-present through my career is Terry Brown, Councillor Terry Brown, who's standing down after 31 years. And again, I'm just about old enough to remember Terry as a younger councillor, and he's been, again, served many different roles through this council, and again had lots of impact on lots of people's lives. The people who follow on from those in terms of longevity of service are Councillor Joyce Snip, who's not on the call tonight, obviously, and obviously Joyce has done 23 years as an independent, which we all know is a very difficult role to fill, even alongside Ralph when he was with us. And again, I think, again, like into the Queen and Prince Philip, Ralph and Joyce were very much a couple. They operated as a couple, and therefore people who knew them knew who really was in charge. And I'm sure you'll pass that back to Joyce when you see her, because that's who I'd always talk to when I wanted a decision from the Snapes, because that's where the power lies, as we all know. Councillor Marion Law, only 1 year behind, 22 years Marion. And Marion's done many roles again, and always held us executive members of latter years to account in her own inimitable style. After that, we go to Margaret Lee's, Auntie Margaret, as I effectively know her. 19 years Margaret's done, over 4 different stints, everywhere. Margaret has been everywhere, done everything, and is still be doing things after she's no longer in this chamber or this council, because that's what Margaret does. So if there's something needs organising, there's a do needs putting on, Margaret will be there doing it, and doing it excellently, as she always does. A number of people have got 10 years, although I had noticed Chris France has 12 years service. So that young Christopher France that we all knew as one of the youngest candidates and councillors in Lancashire in the northwest of England, 12 years of service to this council, makes me feel old, Mr Mayor, if not you. And therefore, I think we need to recognise the contribution of both Chris, Laura Lennox, Steve Murfitt, and I'm obviously deeply pained to lose my old mate Paul Walmsley from the council. Meetings will never be quite as insane again without Councillor Walmsley being involved. Always there to have a laugh, if nothing else, Mr Mayor, as you well know, to your detriment probably. Councillor Graham Dunn, standing down after 9 years. Graham's been an excellent executive member, and again has done many roles for this council, and therefore and kept us all straight when we've strayed, both grammatically and in terms of accuracy, as he always liked to point out that when we get things slightly wrong. And Councillor Sheila Long is also standing down after 5 years service, which seems quite a short time compared to everybody else, but trust me, 5 years is a long time for a councillor, as we all know. So I hope you all enjoy not being here with us. I hope you don't miss it too much, and you come back and enjoy the good bits, which is the going to the pub after meetings and the banter that we all have. But it is a big wrench, particularly from my own group, losing 10 members who served that long. but the council will move on to the future, and there'll be new members here in May, and let's hope they do as good a job as the previous members, and we'll all get you all back for a party once this COVID has been got rid of and lockdown is released fully. So thank you all very much for your service on behalf of this council, and particularly those members of my group as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Walker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I support what Councillor Bradley said about all these good people who are retiring from the council this year. I just like to make, I don't want to go through all the list again, but I'd just like to make two or three comments about various councillors. From my own party, Sheila Long, who's done 5 years. It's been a difficult year for this year with health problems. She moved down to Northampton a year ago to be near her family, and really was going to finish last May, but because of the COVID pandemic, she decided to stop on for another year, and has fulfilled her duties. She's attending all the meetings, attending all the group meetings, all being virtual. So I wish her, on behalf of the Conservative group, all good health and happiness for the future. And thank you for your involvement with the council over 5 years. Can I just mention Councillor Margaret Lee? Now, Margaret was a founder member of the Member Development Steering Group, and she was chairman in 2006 when we received the North West Employers Charter Mark. Now, with the elections this May, of course, there will be possibly quite a few new members, and it's due to her and that committee when it first started, and Tony G was a member of that committee as well, that got the induction way that we now give all the new councillors when they join the council. And so I've got to say thank you to Margaret for that, and the rest of that committee. I can't remember all the names we were on, but I know I was on and Councillor G was on. But before that, when you're elected to the council, you just had to make your own way and find out what was happening, etc., etc. But now we have a proper induction, and that was from the member steering group in 2005. So thank you, Margaret, for that. Terry Brown is not here, but I've been on the licensing committee with him a long time, and between us, we seem to always objected to everything that the chairs wanted to put forward. I know the last year when Councillor Lynch was the chair, I think on 3 occasions went against his decisions, but I think it was a casting vote on those committees and everything went through. But Terry and myself were always against those decisions. I never found out what happened, whether they went to appeal or what happened to these taxi drivers or licensees. But I'll miss Terry on the licensing committee. And can I just say to all the other councillors retiring, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with it. We haven't had many arguments from the Conservative group. We have difference of opinions as always, but we always seem to get on very well. And I can only wish all those members, and especially those I haven't mentioned, good health, happiness, and enjoy the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walker. I have 2 people indicating to speak. I'm not quite sure which order they went in, but I will bow to hierarchy first. So we'll go to Councillor Margaret Lee and then Councillor Danny G.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. No, it's very rare occasions I actually speak at full council meetings, but I just wanted to say those kind words and thanks, Alistair, and really appreciate what you've just said, John. But I wasn't on about me. I just wanted to, it's been a wonderful few years, and it will be the last time I'm not coming back. When I first got on the council, there was Terry Brown and there was Tony, and Tony, they've been there forever. But I just wanted to say, great memories, Tony. Lots of laughs. And when we used to go canvassing, Tony always called us the dream team, and we always wanted to make it fun. even though there were times when we'd be stuck at a door by someone and then Tony just said, I'm sorry, but I've got to go, Margie's got me dinner ready. So he just had to dash off. And there were some times when he said, I've got to go and have my bath. But honestly, Tony, it's been an absolute joy and I love you to bits. And it's been such a pleasure being your ward councillor. And thank you for being there. And can I just say hello to Marion. Marion has been a good friend to me, and I'm sure that we'll see both Marion and Adrian after the election is finished. But good luck to you all and good luck on the election. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Margaret. We've now got Councillor Danny G.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank to Alistair for going to put another meeting. I think it's appropriate that we do this. It's a good thing because I hadn't planned of saying anything nice about my brother tonight, so this gives me the opportunity of a couple of months of sitting down with Tony, and he can tell me what to say about him. Nice thing. So thanks, Alistair, for that. It does give me a lot of time to pick his brains. So, but he will be missed. You'll all be missed. So yeah. Thank you.
I can't find the button for me to be allowed to speak.
You've got it, Tony. Oh, sorry.
Cut him off, Mr. Mayor. No further sentiment. Where are you, Tony? We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, it's the last meeting. It was 45 years ago that Dennis Edgley and myself, my great friend Dennis, started on the council, and they wouldn't allow us on various committees. So about 3 hours later, they decided they weren't going to put up with all our language and getting up and being rowdy. They let us go on. And headlines in the Chorley Guardian, Reds in the beds take charge, something like that. Well, both me and Dennis are not Reds in the beds. We're just ordinary people who try to do the best for Chorley. Looking back, it's not so much the policies I remember, but the people. The beautiful people like Dennis, Jack and Mary Wilson, a lot of others, Marion, Keith Lowe. Keith, his health was never very good, but he was the heart of the Chorley, not council, but the Chorley Labour group and Labour Party. And I miss him every day. I always remember him carrying on in the health he had. And obviously, I knew Adrian. He doesn't like me saying so, that I knew him when he was in short pants, but I didn't know him when he was in short pants. That's just me having one of my jokes. But Adrian was out with us at a very, very young age, 12, 13, still on the canvas board. That's why he doesn't knock on doors, because he was taught how to use the board. And the Lowe family, the Edgley family and the G family all worked together to get the Labour Party in Chorley going again, because it was in dire straits. I think we had two councillors, Carl Sandham and Wilfred Rawcliffe. Obviously, looking back 45 years, you can't be 100% sure you've got everything right. But the Labour Party, the Labour group, is all about respecting each other. And I think, by and large, we do that. But Chorley's also, the Chorley Borough Council has also been very fortunate that, first of all, that there's only been very few leaders of the Labour group and then leaders of the council, which is Bill Corcoran, Jack Wilson, Dennis Edgley and Alistair, four excellent leaders. And by giving them a chance to kind of bed in and do it, they became experts. And that's it. Don't change your leaders. Conservative, be a bit critical here. Maybe you've had 4 in 1 year sometimes. And that's been the difference. We've been very stable. But I must admit that with John has said that we've gone on very well. the Labour group and the Conservative group, and we've always respected each other, and Chorley's a better council for the kind of I can't think of the word, but by working together. And we're all the other council in Lancashire are jealous of what Chorley's got. We're the foremost council in Lancashire, without a doubt. I'm not sorry to go, because I think I'm wise enough to know that you're not the same person when you get to 80. You've got to call it a day sometime. And I was going to call it a day, obviously, last year, but the pandemic came along and saved me for one more year. But I'll be glad to go, but I will miss all of you. And please carry on in the way you're doing, in a good and conscientious way. Thank you very much, all of you, past and present. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tony, for those lovely words. I will just say a very quick word, and that is that being a councillor is not always appreciated by everybody, and I think it's really important that on occasions like this we remember to be nice to each other, because we are, as has already been said, here for the right reasons, to make Chorley a better place, and that goes right across the board. Nobody comes and becomes a councillor and takes up civic life in order to make things worse. We always aspire to make things better. Everybody does, and it's time we remembered to be nice to each other, particularly at this difficult time. Thank you very much. There's no one else wishing to speak? No. Right. Make sure I don't lose my way on this agenda paper now. So, are we moving on to item 5?
You're the chairman.
Item 4, sorry, yes, there is the issue of public questions, of which we have 23 today. No, we don't. We don't have any. We don't have any. We have been having a glut of them lately. We've had 2 in the last 6 months, I think. So, right, we can now move on to item 5, which is the Executive Cabinet report, pages 15 to 20, and that is to be noted, but introduced by Councillor Bradley and seconded by Councillor Wilson. Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try again when I'm unmuted. Can I recommend that the meetings, the Executive Cabinet meetings, the minutes of the 21st of January, 25th of February and 25th of March are noted? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wilson.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Is there any debate on that? I will invite members for their comments, to ask any questions. Use your raised hand, virtual raised hand, please, if you wish to make comment. If not, we will accept that the report is noted. Nobody objecting to that? Okay, thank you. That's noted. Item 6 is the Overview and Scrutiny Committee and the Task and Finish groups, and that's to receive and consider the general report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting held on the 28th of January and one on the 18th of March, and the Overview and Scrutiny Performance Panel held on the 4th of March, and the Task Group update. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask the Council to note the general report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting held on 28th of January and the 18th of March, the Overview and Scrutiny Performance Panel held on the 4th of March, and Task Group updates. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Roy Lees, seconded.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have pleasure in seconding those meetings. Thank you, Chair.
Right. I will now invite members for their comments and to ask questions. If you would like to do so, please raise your hand virtually on the Teams. No, we are going apace here, right? That decision is also the report to be noted, and it is duly noted. Item 7, Governance Committee, your agenda papers, pages 31 to 34, and to follow pages 87 to 90. Councillor Deborah Platt, you're introducing this.
Thank you, Chair. Can I introduce to everybody to receive and consider and note the general report of the Governance Committee meetings, which were held on the 20th of January and the 1st of April.
Right, thank you. And it's to be seconded by the awesome Anthony G.
I have great pleasure in seconding those said committee.
Right, okay. Once again, we move on to that moment in time when I ask members for comments or to ask any questions. Do we have any of those? Please indicate by raising your virtual hand. No, there is nothing there, so we are noted that report. Our decision is to note. Item 8, General Purposes Committee, pages 35 to 36 on your agenda papers. This is to be noted and is proposed by Councillor Beaver and seconded by Councillor Gordon France. Do you want to do that? Councillor Aaron Beaver.
Just 1 second, Chair. Yes, as noted, I would like to propose that this item be accepted by the council. I don't know if you're going to second it.
Councillor Gordon France, I believe.
I'd like to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Right, okay. Moving on, we will look at inviting members to make comments and ask questions on this report. Somebody answer the door.
Avon calling.
Right, okay.
My apologies, Mr. Mayor, that was my Avon order coming through.
Was it really?
I hadn't muted.
I hope you get your colours right. There is nobody indicating they wish to ask questions on that item, so I will take it the report is noted. If you're going to whisper, turn your mic off, whoever that was. Item 9, Area Boundaries Consultation for Brotherton Neighbourhood Plan, pages 37 to 42. This is to be introduced by Councillor Alistair Morwood and seconded by Councillor Bradley. Councillor Morwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to approve the designation of a neighbourhood plan area boundary for Brotherton. Brotherton Parish Council wishes to develop a neighbourhood plan and have requested that the parish boundary be designated as a neighbourhood area. A neighbourhood plan like this gives the communities direct power to develop their shared vision for their own neighbourhood. And paragraphs 6, 7 and 8 of the report outline the consultations that we went through over a period of 6 weeks and explains how that the results of that. Paragraphs 9, 10 and 11 outline various policies and conditions, etc., that they have to adhere to. And this really is to ensure that in developing their own neighbourhood plan, it doesn't conflict with local planning policies or development plans, etc. They can't just go off and do their own thing and totally ignore everything else around them. Paragraphs 12 to 13 outline the next steps to be taken, where the council has to publish this information, and Brotherton Parish Council itself has to prepare a draft plan for consultation. And as indicated in the last paragraph, they will set up a steering committee which will ensure that all the interested parties that need to be involved will be involved in the development of this neighbourhood plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley.
More than happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Right, thank you. Are there any questions or any queries about this particular item? I invite you to raise your hand if there is. No? No, well, I'll say something then. Being a non-political mayor, I think it is a very exciting and bold move for a parish to go in pursuance of a neighbourhood plan, and I would encourage anyone interested in being more involved in shaping their community to consider such a move. Thank you. Is there do we need to vote on this? Yes, we do need to vote on this. Right, this is a proposal, and what I'm going to do is ask in the reverse question, is there anyone opposed to this motion? If so, please indicate by raising your hand. No, we have no raised hands. That means, in my view, that the motion is agreed unanimously by the council. Thank you. Can we move on to item 10, which is questions asked under current procedure rule 8, if there are any? I am told there are none of those. And item 11 is to consider the notice of motion, if any, given in accordance with council procedure rule 10. There's a shake of the head there as well, which means there are none of those. We move now to item 12, which is the exclusion of the press and public, so that we consider items restricted. Can we have someone to propose
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would like to propose that the press and public are excluded so we can consider restricted items under Part 2 papers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Wilson.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anybody opposed to that proposal? No, we have none of those. So in that case, I could say good evening to everybody who's been listening, and